Well, we're here today to talk about an important topic, very important. Hooch. But the real names they call in prison, this is what I heard about Latuna FCI when I was down there, was shithouse champagne, jailhouse juice, prison pina colada. And the gays called it Latuna love water. I don't want to go too deep into that one. But
Uh,
you've seen this shit.
yeah, it's mostly I always hear it as hooch or probably pruno more than anything. And it's some nasty, vulgar shit. I've drank it and it's, but if you want to get a buzz, you'll get a buzz and you'll get a hangover. You can count on that. And if you're not careful, you'll end up in a fight, as I'm sure you know about them too.
Oh yeah. But the thing is with this stuff is, people they say, what is it? Is it wine? No, I tell you, hooch is not wine and hooch is not beer, and it's not even moonshine. It's like a fucking biohazard in a garbage bag.
Yep.
It is. This is some shit that you get in prison. These guys will drink stuff you can't even imagine. And we're gonna go through a recipe here. You think we're kidding you? This crap is horrifying.
Yes, and like you say, you'd like to say a recipe. There's really no recipe. It's what can I get? Can I get apples from the kitchen? Can I get oranges? Can I get some raisins to put in there? Or can I do bread wine? I mean, I don't even know how they do it, to tell the truth, but they made it out of anything. These people, they'll chop up Tylenols from the medical office and snort them. I mean, people in there will do anything to get high. And every time, though, with the hooch or whatever you want to call it, the pruno, it always leads to problems. The cops, they wouldn't care if people drank and didn't do stupid shit. But every time there's like a batch made, and like you say, it's made in a big trash bag. And they usually they'll put what, like two or three trash bags so it doesn't leak, and they'll tie knots in them while it's cooking. Well, the problem is, as you know, Jack, you got to go burp them. It's called, you got to untie them and let the heat out, or these fuckers will explode and they'll pop, and then the cat's out of the bag.
It's crazy because you talk about that, but you know that the recipes that it changes everywhere. It's like you said, what you can get your hands on, but the common base recipe down Latuna, and it was the Mexicans mostly made it, and they'd get all these oranges, and they'd mash them up and let them rot, and this stuff, and they'd have it in the back of a shower stall, and just horrible crap. And then they'd take some hot water and put that stuff that's sitting there, and you can see this shit starting a little bit, but then they'd get the sugar, and sugar's hard to get in prison, so they would steal it from the correctional officers' chow hall, and they'd get all these little packets. He'd be ripping these little packets. Then you put the sugar. But this is the ingredient that I didn't get, and and this is what made the fermenting process take off, and that was ketchup. And I didn't know at the time that was the thing that started really good. Ketchup packets and squeeze in there. You ever seen them
Yeah,
do that?
I did see him, and I didn't understand. It somehow works as a yeast or something, but I don't know. I don't know why, but you definitely. And then some prisons you can buy the jars of ketchup, at the store, just like you can buy the sugar in the box, the cubes and shit like that. But most people, because it took a lot of sugar, Jack. If you're making a trash bag full, I mean, for the only way for them to really make enough to get a few people drunk and shit, it was a pretty big batch. So their optimum thing was stealing sugar out of the bakery in the kitchen. But you're right about the cops. The cops kept an eye on that. So they may do with what they could do, though.
We had a CO down there. Then he was crooked. I know it's hard to believe COs are crooked, but there's tons of them down in Latuna. Tons of them are down there. They'll bring you anything, and they would bring in the cube sugar and stuff for these guys, and they'd actually bring in bags and stuff, and these guys use it. When they put that sugar and that ketchup into that stuff, you look in that bag, and you can see this shit moving. I mean, you can just see it kind of like it's come to life in there and stuff. And then they twist the bags up, and they'd always have two or three, like you said, garbage bags and stuff. And now the secret is it took like 4 to 7 days, I remember right, to get that to where they wanted. So it's
Yeah.
got they hid all that time. We had a guy there one time, one of the Mexicans got in there, and this was the weird one. I've never seen a guy blow up this big before. They went in there, and this guy, he wanted to get in there early, so he was going to screw his buddies over. So he got into the bag of hooch. I think it was like the second day or something. And they always said, don't get into that till it's done fermenting. They said that it's a big. But this guy got in there and started drinking that stuff. So that that night at count time, and in prison you have count time, they come in to lick it. At midnight count, you're laying in your bunk, they just count the bodies in the bunks as they go through. and this guy's laying on his back going, "Oh, oh." His goddamn stomach is out like this.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the SEAL goes, "What the hell's wrong with you, blowing up or what?" And they took him, dragged him out of there and stuff, and just so they got him around the corner, they cuffed the guy up and back to take him out because he's drunk.
Yeah.
So they got cuffs off. It was like a volcano, a vomit rocketed out of this guy and bounced off the wall. I mean, it was like, poosh, and I'm laughing now, but I have a real weakness for vomit that makes me want to throw up too. I didn't throw up that night, but it was a because it's this stuff smells like baby shit to start with, and you can imagine you puke and baby shit together. Anybody getting grossed out want to turn the channel, I apologize. It was
Yeah. This brings up so many memories when I think about all the shit. And that's just the beginning of the problems right there. Because then we've had cops come in, like we were watching the World Series one time up in a TV room over at FCI Phoenix. And so they used to have protein jars in there. So you'd buy a protein jar full of hooch, a pruno. And so everybody was up there drinking, and the cop comes in the TV room, looks around, smells, he goes, "Hey, I know you fuckers are drinking." He goes, "I don't care." He goes, "I don't want any problems from you. Do I have?" Everybody goes, "Man, no problem, CO, man. Thank you. We'll be cool." You know, Next thing about an hour later, he walks in the TV room, and I forget his name, but this kid looks at and the cop said, "You guys doing okay?" "Fuck you, punk. I'll fucking kick your ass and everything." And the cop looks at him, looks at all of us, and goes, "Okay." He goes and gets his posse, and here they come. And next thing you know, they got this guy gaffled up pretty good. They got him. They're punishing him, and so they got him. They got him strapped behind his backs with the tie downs. They got everything. They're picking him up and putting pressure. You know how when your ankles and shit, and they're putting pressure on him, and it hurts. And he goes, "I'll be good, I promise." And he was a tough guy, but he goes, "Take him off, I'll be good." And we were dying in there, man.
Yeah, yeah, the guys we had a guy in our unit, in Unit 2, which we actually have a song about, and, he was a good kid. He was a native kid, half native, half Mexican or something, and he'd get drunk and he'd get squirrely as hell, and there were certain times we just got off a lockdown, they finally got a hold of their hooch, and, they came in there, and lieutenants there, and all these guys are doing a count, and after lockdown, they bring the whole posse to count.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he's in a side cell and everything's open. There's doors you can step into the hallway. He keeps peeking out and he'd look back in and he'd peek out and he'd look back in. Lieutenant stops, he's looking at him. Oh, it's a kid jumps in the hallway, buck ass naked, starts dancing around, dancing around. Lieutenant's looking at him, goes, "You been drinking?" He jumped back inside. He jumped back. "I said, you been drinking?" He goes, "The pixies actually fairy dust. I can fly." And the guy's in his cell going, "Jesus Christ." And then they came and got him and took him. He wasn't a bad kid, but boy, he was squirrelier than hell. But
Well, yeah, and now if you want it more potent, also like in Victorville, you were talking about how they hide it in the showers a lot. Well, there's panels up in the shower so that people can get up in there and service the plumbing, and the guys would make little tools where they could take them weird like screws out and get up in there. And so then they would take. I knew, there was a guy who was famous in Victorville. I forget his name now. Oh, Cracker, and he would do it in a 5-gallon pail, and he would take it up there, and he would take the hooch, and then he put a stinger in it. And for you people that don't know, a stinger, really all it is a couple of. A lot of times they'll use foil, but they'll use two little steel poles, a negative and positive, and they'll tie into the electrical system. Well, when it goes into the liquid, it conducts and it gets hot, and so it sits there and cooks. And they made these little coils up there, and it would sit there and evaporate, and it would turn into white lightning, the Everclear, and then they would sell the little bottles for a pint. And now that I would drink because it didn't give you the hangover. It cooked all that nasty shit out, and this was a major operation. And I remember one time it blew the fuses, and the cops had to come in there, and they realized where it was coming from, went up in there and found the whole batch.
you gotta admit, these guys, there's some inmates that are almost genius. You give these guys some time, they got time. If you give them any kind of thing they can put together, they'll make it and stuff. So what we got here, I'm gonna show everybody this stuff. So you want to know what hooch looks like compared to the real thing here. This is this is what it looks like. You know, now
That's
this
exact.
didn't ferment for 7 days, and, if you wanna know what it tastes like, you're gonna have to try it yourself. I'm not gonna drink this shit.
No, I wouldn't. No.
And all the time I was in prison, the guys would come up, "You wanna try some? Just try." This one guy actually snuck some straws in, and he'd lay in his bunk, and he this dude and he had this bag there, and he tried to suck that stuff in at night, you know? So they're coming down for a count, and it's dark, they got the flashlights and that kinda stuff there, and right in the middle, he's drunk, so he took a big suck, but there's all this shit inside that straw. He sucked the straw up into his throat and starts gagging and
No. At
rolling
count
around.
ti right at count time?
Yeah, right at count time. He's rolling around on the damn floor and stuff, and the CO's is looking at him,
Uh,
he goes, stay right there, you're going to the shoe when we come back, you know, which was horrible. Anyway, this stuff stinks horrible. I mean, you look at that, and I'm gonna do a comparison here. I've got something else, the difference of what you get back then and what you got now. This is our homemade product here, Shank. You recognize that there? This is what it looks like compared
yeah.
to
Put it up there. Oh my God. So
that much of a
that's
hit on you,
all that
see.
shit all that shit you're seeing is going through your liver and your kidneys. Good luck with that. Um,
Mm,
yeah,
this stuff's better. This one, you get it to right about here, and the aroma, what do they call it? I
it's
can't
not that. It's an odor. It's not an aroma. That's an odor. The beer's got an aroma. The fucking
aroma, what do you
the
want? It's
pruno's got an
odor.
odor. Yeah.
But, the hooch business is alive and well in the prison system, so if you wanna go to prison to try it out, go ahead. I don't recommend you make this shit at home, but hell, I don't care what you do at home, make it if you want
Yeah.
to.
And
But,
the beer business is alive and well right here in Riverside with Prison Break
exactly.
Brewery.
So,
And
go for
there
one
you
of
go.
these. That's the competition right there. Don't touch that shit. Actually, we'll take on any competition, try beer, try it out sometimes. It's pretty good shit. I'm a beer drinker though, so I'm kinda biased. But anyway, anything else you wanna close out with here before we say goodbye to the folks for the week?
N- No, everybody have a good Thanksgiving. I think this one they'll put out around our Thanksgiving. So have a good Thanksgiving for everyone.
Yep. Everybody go out there, hug your families, hug the turkeys, hug the food. It's more expensive this year, but hug it anyway. This is Jack and GT from Fed Joints to Beer Joints. I'm gonna see you soon.